like to call the July 8th, 2021 call board meeting to order at 5 o'clock. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll give it a motion. I'll second.
Aaron and Tucker. Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. The agenda is approved. At this time, I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. I made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is Mr. Smith. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. We are adjourned to executive session at 5:01 by Steve Smith and seconded by Tommy Gartrell to come out of executive session at 5:18. The vote was 5-0. No other action was taken. Do I hear a motion to approve the executive session minutes as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Tucker and Tommy. Is there any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion carries unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is for a budget presentation for FY22 by Amy Smith, our CFO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have for you tonight is an update from our last budget workshop, any changes that were made to the budget. This is the proposed tentative budget that will be at the regular meeting next hour. The changes that were made were the addition of funds for the superintendent's contract. The benefits for that category, we had not completed that category, salary and benefits, because we did not have the largest portion of that area. The addition of bonus pay for contracted staff in the amount of $51,100. We had some additional requests for professional learning funds that came from various groups. The person who handled that is no longer with us, and so our communication wasn't quite as smooth with this issue, so I felt like they had valid arguments on the request for the additional $10,000, so we did work that back in the budget. Addition of $10,000 in media funds that goes to the school level into their media centers. And addition of 1 month's pay for a director that was approved at the June 10th board meeting. Another item I noted, just so you know, when we have transfers out that have to do with that Fund 150 consolidation, I had them in each function so you knew what it was per function. So I had to actually pull it out, and it just moved it from one category to the other. It didn't change the bottom line. So for our proposal tonight, it is an increase. I didn't calculate a percentage increase from last year because it is so minute. It is an increase of $41,642 from the FY21 initial budget. Do y'all have questions? This does encompass a new non-certified salary schedule that I think has been a long time coming. I appreciate your time and patience with us preparing this. Lots of work in the central office by Mr. Parker, Susan Holloway, and lots of other staff members. I think this is something that needed to be done, and very pleased with the outcome. It puts us back in the market to compete against the surrounding counties. Other than that, it's our normal. There's no significant change. We did eliminate the Pearson online program, which was a large expense last year, but we were able to cover any increase. For example, certified staff can possibly get an automatic step on the state and local salary schedule. It encompasses all that, all the new non-certified schedule, all the requests that came in at the school level. I have not had anybody put in a request that, other than at 10,000 in media that we had pulled back on, we still have the same numbers out there for them. With the CARES, CRISA, and ARP grants, it's giving us some additional funds to push out to the schools for remediation. One thing that is not in here at this point is ARP. It has not been approved yet. We have submitted it, but it's about a 10-day turnaround to typically hear from them, and that will be tomorrow. So we will have to come back and amend this at some point, but we will wait until we have an approved budget before we do that.
Would you mind just explaining to everyone what the ARP grant would entail?
Okay. I'm sure y'all have all heard about the federal grants that have come down to the state and local levels, but to education and our type of education, we've had several groupings. It started in FY20 with what we're going to call CARES 1. That was about $750,000. In FY21, I won't say we were bombarded with grants, but we got 11 new grants. ARP was the newest, and it's the most significant. All total from FY20 until FY22 is about $11 million. These funds have to meet certain criteria since they are federal. We have checklists you can go through, and you literally have to check a box that it fits into. And it can be something like core continuation of programs. We had staff in FY20 and 21 who were not going to receive pay because school was not open. We were able to continue to pay those people with the help of these grants because that was an allowable expense. So the next grant, the next largest grant is called CRISA, CRRSA. It is about $3.1 million. It had basically the same requirements. It had a few little extra bells and whistles. We have to apply to the state. We have to do a request, an extensive budget. Sometimes there are plans involved. They have to approve it before we can spend it, and there are lots of hoops to jump through and lots of red tape. But we have already received approval for that and begun spending some of those monies. The third large prong of this is called ARP. It is $7.1 billion. They first only pushed out about 4.2 to us. We have just now done the budget request for the 4.2. It has more rules than the first two rounds. This grant in particular says 20% of the money must be spent on remediation efforts at the school level. So if children had a learning loss during COVID, this is money to help them get back to where they need to be. These grants can, what is called, carry over from year to year. Each one has different cutoffs. CARES 1 cuts off September 30th. We should have that grant closed by then. The second one, CRISA, will close, I believe it's in end of 23. So you can carry those monies over. You still have to have a need as defined by the rules of these federal grants. If we get all the kids back to where all on grade level, performing at grade level as we would like them all to be, then we may not be able to draw any more of the funds. So there are several plans that have to be written on how you're going to spend, what you're going to do in order to get the funds. It's extensive paperwork, extensive budgets, and we have had a federal programs director that has done an excellent job with that. You get input from every department, food service, M&O, every department can have a request that might be allowable, but you do have to meet certain criteria. These budgets have to still be approved by the state, and then we have to maintain all the paperwork. With ARP, you have to do data analysis. If students are behind, and you can say X percent of students are behind at this point, at this grade level, at this school, you have to measure their progress along the way and be able to, we'll report it back. I believe it's going to be annually. Originally it was quarterly. Right now I believe they're saying annually we have to report it. And we have to show movement. We have to show that what we're doing is helping. So it's quite a process. We're very pleased to have the money. I think it will help the county. It's an excellent opportunity for us to get kids back on grade level where they need to be, or above. That'd be lovely. But those are the plans right now. So There are lots of little pieces of grants. We have grants that range from $624 up to $7.1 million. There's some that are directed at vocational. There are nursing grants. We had to have extra nursing help, had extra hours. The nurses worked to do contact tracing, had to work sometimes during holidays. We had a $15,000 grant to help with those things. Everything has to have something to do with COVID. That was a problem that was created by COVID, an expenditure that is related to COVID, and this is how we're coping with it. One difference in Georgia and some other states across the nation, a lot of the verbiage in the requirements and the opportunities you have is to reopen schools. Well, we had already done that. The first grant came in very late in FY20, then it got put on hold for 4 months, which actually pushed it into this past school year. So we really could not expend it in 20. You can reach back if you need to. But, so everything kind of has come down in 21. We can have the opportunity to use all this out until 24. The final grant, I believe, close date is 24, and that would be June 30th, 24. It is extensive. I know I've sent out to a couple of the media more information, which defines each grant specifically, especially the 3 large grants. If you have questions, just get in touch with me. You can call me or email me, and I'll be happy to share what I have. Do you have any other questions? That's kind of the short version.
Yeah.
It is very extensive. There's a lot of information in these grants. Lots of things we can and can't do. Food service was able to run and deliver food. We had to buy cooler bags. We had to run buses. Those things we were able to, a lot of them we were able to back into these grants and not have to spend local money for that. So that did help the school system quite a bit.
I appreciate it. I was just thinking, if I were listening to all of this for the first time, I would want to know what some of the initials meant.
Right.
And I just,
And I will say, part of these grants is you need to get input from every department across the system. And I do believe we've touched just, I mean, M&O, transportation, school food, definitely instruction. I mean, we have really been able to spread the money out in areas where it was needed and where things, PPE, supplies, hand sanitizer. We're still doing a lot of the paperwork to get the money, but it's an item that's been approved, and we just have to follow through with the paperwork for it. So it's helped us quite a bit.
thanks. Well, I put a little bump in your presentation, so just you go on now, whatever you were going to say.
Oh, but
thank you.
like I said, I don't have a percentage because it's such a small increase. It was a 0.000, so I was really pleased with that. But we're pleased to present this budget for tentative approval tonight. Then, of course, we have requirements that we have to run ads. The digest will come in. I've talked to the county level folks, and we're hoping to have it possibly by the end of July, but nothing written in stone yet. But they're pushing information out to us as quickly as they possibly can, which I appreciate very much. So thank you to them for their hard work, and we will await the digest. If this is approved tonight as tentative, we will go ahead and put the non-certified 12 months, if anybody's 12 months, we will begin paying those new rates at the end of July. So we've got some staff that's very excited, and I think they are anxious to hear how the meeting goes.
Well, thank you very much for all that information. I hope there won't be a quiz on this. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment, ask questions? Yes.
So one query I had regarding the budget, how much, if any, has been set aside for upgrading HVAC systems to meet CDC guidelines?
Okay, and would you repeat his question for the cameras?
He's asking how much has been set aside to improve HVAC systems to meet CDC guidelines. And I'm actually going to turn that over to Mr. Gillen.
We already meet CDC guidelines.
So this will HIPAA filtration in all classrooms?
No.
because that's not required in school systems. You could not, our systems would not handle the HIPAA system, so we would have to go in and change out the entire unit.
Exactly, yes.
No, that's, it's just not feasible. They don't have that in every hospital room in a hospital. It's only in certain areas. It's so expensive and so hard to maintain and so hard to keep running. With the people we have in and out of a building, you would probably have to service that thing every 2 days to maintain it, as many people are in a classroom and stuff. Because in a hospital room, you only got 1 or 2 people with some staff. So they do not require it, and they do not recommend it for us in schools.
Okay, well, thank you for your question. Do you have any other questions or comments?
Not at present.
Okay.
The only place we have considered it are the clinics, where we have the students coming in to the nurses. And our nurse, she's not in here, but she is actually pricing some right now.
All right. Is there anyone else? Okay. All right. Now that we have our full budget presented, I would like to open the floor to comments, which we did. If you don't mind, sir, would you please give your name for the record?
Sure. Timothy Childry.
Timothy Childers?
Childry.
Childry?
Yep.
Okay.
Less of us than the Childers in Jasper.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
There are more Childers in Jasper than us, so.
Okay. I understand. All right. All right. Is there anyone else? Going once, going twice? All right, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? And we are adjourned at 5:35. Thank you very much and appreciate your questions, sir.